as a fourth felony offender. Offense manslaughter, habitual offender added penalty. Sentencing date September 28, 2000. Sentenced to a total of 25 years. Parole date is August 1st, 2021. Good time September 8th, 2063. Full term March 20th, 2064. Is this information correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Good morning, Mr. Hayes. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for asking. Mr. Hayes, I'm going to read some information, and if it's not correct, please correct me, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hayes, you're currently 62 years old, and you've been incarcerated approximately 22 and a half years on a 65-year sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were billed as an habitual offender. You are a fourth felony offender with an extensive criminal record. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Hayes, I want to talk to you just briefly on the offense itself. Tell me your version of what happened.
Want me to speak now, sir?
Yes, sir.
By me being under the influence of drugs and alcohol, I wasn't thinking correctly and committed a crime that I knew I shouldn't have, and took somebody's life, and I'm very sorry for.
So that devil, drugs and alcohol made you do it?
Yes, sir. I was under the influence.
If you were under the influence, when Jack was going to put his dirty clothes and give them to the victim, why did you go to the victim's home?
Sir?
Why did you go with your friend who was going to take care of his dirty laundry to her house when you knew you had broken off your relationship with her? Why did you go to the house?
Sir, at that time there, I had brought the laundry to the house before me and Jack went to the house. And when Jack went to the house, he was supposed to have been bringing me to the hospital. And it was his decision to stop to the house to pick her up.
Okay. Now, why did you feel it necessary when the victim ran into the house trying to get away from you? You ran into the house and there was 3 or 4 witnesses, eyewitnesses to the crime itself. Why did you feel it necessary to go into the house when you were not invited?
But at the moment, at the time when it happened, we was into an argument, and I just lost control, and I was out. I went in after, I was under the influence, and
do you at that time, did you carry a 12-inch knife with you everywhere you went?
honestly, sir, I don't even recall where I got the knife.
Okay. So now, are you aware that the victim identified you as the person that stabbed her before she expired?
Yes, sir.
And you are aware that at least 3 or 4 eyewitnesses, including the gentleman that tried to help the victim, all gave testimony that you premeditatedly or under influence of drugs stabbed her multiple times?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's talk about your programs. Tell me about the programs that you've completed in the last 22 and a half years.
I went to the 100-hour class, thinking for a change. I've been through a transition class with RDAP. Right now I'm involved in getting my GED, and I'm in a veterans program right now.
Okay, so you've had Thinking for a Change, ADAPT, working on GED. That's great, because that was one of my concerns, that you didn't have a GED. And how about substance abuse? Any substance abuse treatment in the 22 years of incarceration?
Yes, sir. That was in the transition program that I just come through.
Sir, that's one of 10 modules in the pre-release program. Have you taken any substance abuse program?
Yeah, all that. So,
Living in Balance,
yeah.
Louisiana Risk Management. Okay.
No, sir.
Tell me about RDAP.
Well, during the RDAP program, they teach us we have something about substance abuse in there, and for to manage your life, for your thinking and thing, rational thinking and stuff like that, and the irrational thinking we did in the past when we was on the substance.
Okay, War on Veterans, is that program considered a substance abuse treatment program?
Yes, sir. The RDAP stands for Residential Drug Abuse Program. It's part of our behavioral management program in the Fox 7. I think you may be familiar with our transition program. There's a bunch of different names, but
I wasn't familiar with the acronym, but
yes, sir.
when you gave me the entire name, I'm familiar with the program. Okay. Do you have a job at the facility? What do you do every day?
Right now, sir, I'm under a permanent no duty. I had a surgery and then I got back problem right now.
Okay. And how's that progressing?
Right now, the doctor had told me I'm gonna be feeling this pain the rest of my life, from the surgery, because it took so long for them to get me the surgery.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about your transition plan. Where are you going to live? And probably you're going to be on disability, right?
Yes, sir.
Where do you plan to live?
But right now, I got my brother to live with my brother right now. But I was supposed to have be going to First 72. Someone was supposed to meet me here from First 72. If not, I had a backup plan for to live with my brother.
And that's in New Orleans?
Yeah, when I contacted them, they told me about doing for the stone, they'd mess up their buildings and stuff for the police. But when I get out, to come to them and they'll take care of the rest of my business. Okay.
Okay. Tell me about your disciplinary issues in the 22 years of incarceration. How many disciplinary write-ups?
I can think about the two times I've really been locked up before about disciplinary, maybe 3.
Try 11.
11?
Yeah. When was your last disciplinary write-up?
I think that was in 2018.
Yes, February of 18, an aggravated work offense.
Yes, sir.
And what concerns me is that you continuously violate the same rule. Out of the 11 write-ups, you have 9 aggravated work offenses. So why do you continually violate the same rule?
Well, on the aggravated work offense, so that's when I first came into the prison system. And I was having problems with the work, keeping up with the line and stuff like that. And I was having,
But the last one was 3 years ago. You had been incarcerated for 20 years.
okay, excuse me, sir, but that one there, I had went to work that day, and the officer tried to make me go back that night. And the coroner told me just go on, take the work offense and lock me up. And I went in the cell block for overnight, and they got me out the next day because they said you couldn't work me twice in one day.
Okay.
I was trying to explain to him I had worked already that day.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I appreciate your answers. Let me inform you, and you can't do anything about this, the entire legal community, the judge, the DA's office, law enforcement are adamantly opposed to your early release. You have multiple members of the victim's family adamantly opposed to any early release on your part. We have 4 daughters of the victim who submitted statements or letters just vehemently opposed to your release. We have 3 of her sisters who've also submitted letters of opposition. And the only one that's unopposed to your release is your son, who happens to be the son of the victim also. He said he was unopposed. Now, Mr. Hayes, with I think some 43 years left on your sentence, why do you think this panel should vote this morning to release you with so much time left on your sentence?
Right now, I'm not the same person I was when I committed the crime. I'm more wiser now, and I'm not letting drugs dictate my life anymore. And I'm trying to better educate myself to do positive things for not just my family, but other people in the community, to keep them from going through the same thing I went through.
Mr. Hayes, but what do you tell the victim's family, her 4 daughters, her 3 sisters? They have a stake in this also. What do you tell them?
I'm sorry about the way things turn out. I pray that it wouldn't have happened that way. And I'm just sorry. I mean, I can't bring her back. I wish I could, but I can't.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Warden Buttress, would you like to add any comments, remarks, or observations?
No, sir. I just confirmed the programs that he stated. He is living in our veterans dorm. As he mentioned, the programs that he mentioned, he's completed. The write-ups, the last write-up he did receive was at LSP, and he's been here since 2018 and has been write-up free since he's been at home.
Thank you, Warden. Mr. Hayes, thank you for your service to our country. And Mr. Chairman, that completes my interview.
Thank you very much. I see the speaker here today. If you would unmute your mic, Ms. Terrett Lockett. If you would unmute your mic, and I have a couple of speakers there, so we need to keep it going pretty good.
Yes, sir. I would just like to iterate what he was saying is he was under the influence, and my brother really is a good person, and he really did love Kiki Corinthia. I'm sorry, as well as he's sorry that it happened, because where we from, we are a close-knit family community. I grew up with Kiki and her sisters. I'm sorry that it happened, and my brother, he has a lot of love to give, and he still has a lot of good to give back. And I'm willing to be by his side, supposing that he comes home and God's willing to help him transition to be that man that me and him have talked about being. And if it's in your will and to forgive him and the family to forgive him, I sure would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, there's another speaker, which will be his niece, Tiffany Fisher. If you would unmute your mic, anything you have to say it directly to the board. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Finnerson. I'm the niece of Melvin Hayes, and I just want to add that at the time he was under the influence of drugs, and he has been a changed man since then. I've been close to my uncle all my life, so I see the change in him and the direction he has taken in his life, and I often communicate with him since his incarceration, and I see that he has changed, and I see that, he has, he's more asking for forgiveness now, and he's trying to get on the right path. And I can assure you that drugs won't be a part of his new come life. And to the family members, we are sorry. Like we say, we were close to the victim also, and he did love her. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Also, we have another speaker here today, being the victim of the daughter. And just remember, when we give in these statements, anything you say it directly to the board. And we have 3 victims going to be speaking, so we need to keep it going pretty smoothly. At this time, Ms. Stevens will be giving her statement. Unmute your mic.
Good morning. This is my mother, boy. I wasn't sure about how the words would flow out of my mouth. I cannot forgive Melvin for what he took from us. Mom, I was 13 when my mother was taken away in foster care. My mother had 4 other small children, including his son at the time, which was 3 months old. My mother wasn't perfect by far. She was better than her demons, but she was still my mother. She was still loved. What he did, he took everything. He didn't give her other children the opportunity to get to know their mama. Her grandchildren, to see none of her children get married, none of the above. They say God gives us all grace and mercy. But I'm not God, and I cannot unchain my heart. Mr. Hayes did a lot of things. My mother was terrified. I watched him cut my mama up before. I watched him do some unforgivable things. I even watched him at one point in time. My mama asked him one day, "You gonna kill me and my kids?" He said, "No, I'm gonna kill you." And he had a machete sitting on the floor in the trailer. I've been trying to wrap this around my mind for years. How could you say you love a woman and you take her life? She didn't deserve that. You had the opportunity to walk away, all because she wanted to leave. How could you murder the mother of your son, who was 3 months old? No, I cannot forgive. I cannot forgive because of her. She didn't deserve it. She didn't deserve it at all. And I don't think it's fair that he would be able to go home and be with his family. And I have my kids, as well as my nieces, them that ask me, "Why can't we go to your mama? Why can't we see your mom?" And all you can tell them is this: she in heaven, that God decided to call her home. And it
Miss
wasn't
Stevens,
about his will.
we need to wrap it up.
So I ask you all to please not let him go. That's
Okay.
all.
Thank you. If you would mute your mic, and at this time, Miss Butts, if you would, the victim's sister, if you would unmute your mic.
Yes, I am Josette Butts. I am Corinthian's sister, and I'm just asking the parole board to not have him to go. I can't forgive him for what he has done. I know the years has passed and everything else, but I just still remember everything that happened. I can remember a time of him riding in his car with a sawed-off shotgun, looking for my sister, just looking for her in order to hurt her. How could you love somebody so much and do so much things to that person? I'm listening to what that man had said about what he has done in jail. A repeat offender. I just don't think that he's ready for the world. I don't think that it's time for him to be out in the world. How could you go and say, okay, I've done this, I'm going to do better, when you have repeatedly done it, and then you do things like this in jail, locked up, and you're still doing things. You're saying you're going to do better, you're going to do better, and then every time when we thinking it's okay, it's not. I just don't think that he is ready for the real world. I think he needs to stay there until his time. It's just not time yet. It's not. And I do not forgive him.
Okay. Thank you very much. If you would mute your mic, and Miss Laird, the victim's daughter, if you would unmute your mic.
Yes, hi board. My name is Sheena Laird. I don't believe that Melvin Hayes should get out in any way, shape, fashion, or form. As my sister said, I was young when my mom was taken. I didn't get a chance to know my mom. I didn't get the chance to have her show me what it is to have a period. You know, my life was 10 times harder because I moved from this person to this person. I had no stability because of this man. Still, as today, him taking my mom in the way he did it, it affects me. It affects my children. It affects how I relate to my children. He's not getting any better. Just in 2018, he had his last aggravated ordeal there, and that was 2018. So all this time he's been locked up, and he's still doing the same motions of aggravated. Now, I just can't see myself letting him out free roaming with his family. He got the 65 years, and that was for a reason. He deserved every 65 of those 65 years incarcerated. No doubt about it. This affects us on a daily. I can't go and talk to my mom when I need someone to talk to. I can't dial her up. At least he can still dial up his family while he's in prison. They can still talk to him in jail. I can't dial up my mama. She can't talk to me. I can't see her. I can't touch her. I can't call her. I have nothing. And because I'm left with nothing for my lifetime, he should be the same. He should be left in there for his time, because that was the time that he was giving. Don't know good that he can do can undo the hurt, the damage, and the pain that he's done. I don't believe that he should be out. I strongly say keep him in. Even my little brother is in jail right now, going down that same path. Right now, as of Thanksgiving, Melvin Hayes Jr. was in jail as well. You know, wanting to follow the same steps. So I don't believe there's no good impact coming from him, from his seat, or from anything that's around him. Nothing good comes from him. It's all bad. And I don't think it's fair for us to have to be lenient with someone who wasn't lenient to us. He wasn't lenient when he thought about my mama. He didn't just say, oh, let me go beat her up and then I'm gonna leave. That's lenient. No, he took her. So I don't feel that we should be lenient from him in any way, shape, fashion, or form. You can say you sorry 1,000 times.
Okay.
Sorry doesn't do nothing.
Okay, Ms. Larry.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for your statements today. At this time, no other questions there. Mr. Hayes, anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
Is there anything you'd like to say to the board before?
So all I can say is I'm sorry about what all prescribed in my life up to that point when I did the unthinkable. But I just ask for the forgiveness of the board and of the family members.
Okay. Thank you very much. At this time, Mr. Roche will be voting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hayes,
Yes, sir.
I can hear the remorse and the anguish in your voice. And I really think that you are sorry for your behavior. And it wasn't a one-time thing with you. From what I heard this morning, it was a continuous thing of abuse. And it came to a climax on the day that you murdered your Corinthia. Based upon an overwhelming express from members of the family, law enforcement, the sentencing judge, the chief of police in your jurisdiction, in a life of rehabilitative programs, because I like to see you take more programs, and I want you to continue working on your GED. My vote this morning is to deny your request.
Okay, at this time, Ms. Cheryl Winosis.
Mr. Hayes, I agree with Mr. Roche. Based on the opposition we've heard from today and that which we see in the record, my vote today is going to be to deny you parole. Don't give up hope. Just keep working on your programs, reapply whenever you're eligible to do so.
At this time, I'm going to be voting to deny. I'm going to vote the same as my colleague. That concludes the hearings today. The time is 9:49 a.m.
So we'll go over some of the details, but before I do, I just want to get a few things off of my chest. I know that I have expressed this many times already. Maybe you feel the same ways, but Jim Wise, I cannot stand the man. He's, in my opinion, just remarkably unprofessional. His microphone, for all the years he's been doing this on the Zoom, he's never made the effort to upgrade his internet or computer, and that is just a complete disrespect and disregard to the process. But what enrages me, that's just one thing, right? What enrages me is how he treats the victims. These are their daughters, sisters. There was no trial. This is their first time that they have an opportunity to speak. And they're speaking, and whether, there are different ways. I timed the last two speeches after he cut the first one off. The second one that he cut off was at 1.5 minutes, and the third one that he cut off was at 2 minutes and 47 seconds, actually 2.4693. And, if you want to say, well, they're going in circles or whatever it is, you can do it more politely. You can say it with some empathy, with some understanding that this is their daughter, this is their sister. This is their first opportunity to speak. Shame on you, just shame on you. It's disgusting. He was an investigator at Angola. Can you imagine having to work with him or all of the inmates that he would deal with? Do you think that he treated them? If this is how he treats victims, I wonder how he treats. It's just, anyways, I'm happy he's off the board, but he was, I think, the longest serving board member at one time, which is disturbing. This case was disturbing too. I mean, how you go and you take the life, the mother of your child and all this, like, just because you've got an issue. A man pled guilty to manslaughter for stabbing his girlfriend. He was 41. He faces up to 80 years of prison. He's scheduled to be sentenced. He was accused of his girlfriend. He was originally charged with second degree, which carries a mandatory life in prison. But they said, you know what? We'll just charge you with the manslaughter, which is 40 years, and then we'll hit you with an habitual offender. You'll probably spend the rest of your life. But anyways, 40 years at the age of 41 is basically a life sentence. So in lieu of a trial, they just did that. They didn't even do the habitual offender. I'm not sure how they could have gotten an habitual offender charge. His previous charge was a possession charge in 1989. It's like, really? You can charge someone as an habitual offender because he has a possession charge 10 years, 11 years prior. And that's probably why they didn't. I don't think that it was legal. And he will be served possibly probation without the possibility of probation and parole. The victim's family did not oppose for going to trial. And, you know, that doesn't go much into it except that he chased her into the house, stabbed her, and she died shortly after. Now you might say, well, wait a minute. If it's 40 years without the opportunity of probation and parole, how is it that he's getting out? And that's because of Act 122. I've gone into this before, but it was legislation that was lobbied by the Parole Project. Anyone who served more than 20 years of the sentence is above the age of 40. They can now get the opportunity of parole, regardless of the deals that were signed, that the laws. This has changed all the laws. Great, in my opinion, if you're serving a life sentence for, you know, 3 possession charges that you picked up over 10 years in the 90s. Really bad when it is that you're when you're someone who should be locked up because of what they did and because they can't be trusted in society and because of the victim's pain and because of all of that. But that's the system that we're in. It's broken. And to think that it was a bipartisan bill that was signed really with exciting, you know, woo, let's sign this, but without taking into account all the pain that it would cause. And that's a big problem. And politicians should be held responsible by their constituency. And part of the share of this information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. And it's good to know why your system's broken. But with that, I'll let you go. And thank you, Richard, for the info.